Great. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن سهلا إذا شئت. آمين. Okay, so as a review, we finished up, well, we pretty much did almost all of Surah Buruj, which was, we did the first three ayahs, I think the lesson before that. So from Surah ayah number 4 until the end, we discussed the story of the boy and the king and how pretty much what ended up happening was that because of this town's belief in Allah Ta'ala, the king and his army, it just went on like a genocide craze of just killing all these people and throwing them in the ditches that they had made and burned them alive. Reflecting also, so qutila ashabul ukhdud, these people of the trenches, these the criminals who burn these people alive in the trenches, in the ditches, they are cursed. So not only are they the ashabul ukhdud in this world, the people who committed this genocide and this offense, they too will also be the people of the trenches in Jahannam. So Allah, it's like a sort of a mushakala, a reflection of their condition in this world and in the hereafter. And for what reason did they kill these believers? وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. The only sin, the only wrong thing that these Muslims did is the fact that they believed in Allah Ta'ala. So this is called تَأْكِيدُ الْمَدْحِ بِمَا يُشْبِهُ الذَّمِّ. That something which is actually praiseworthy, it's being, the rhetoric is just it's being used to show like it's something as if it's something bad. But we know, of course, belief in Allah Ta'ala is the greatest thing and the best thing that a person could do. And then we go on to assert the authority of Allah Ta'ala, الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ, that Allah Ta'ala has complete authority and that He deserves to be worshipped. Not the king who was claiming this uluhiyah and this divinity and this divine nature for himself. إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا فلهم عذاب جهنم ولهم عذاب الحريق. And then Allah Ta'ala says that these people who tested فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات, they tested and they put these believing men and women through this trial, Allah Ta'ala promises for them the hellfire and this burning punishment. And as for those individuals who did believe in Allah Ta'ala and they performed righteous deed, Allah Ta'ala says that He will grant them a Jannah. So now, what does this have to do with, like, how does this fit into the context of the Meccan, the Quraysh and the Muslims that were living in Mecca? Is because that while they were in Mecca, the Muslims, of course, were being oppressed, they were being persecuted, they were pretty much this group of people that were being, beaten down by this huge military force that they just couldn't compete against physically. And so Allah Ta'ala is like a tasliyah for these individuals. Allah Ta'ala is showing that, we dealt with, although these people did go through a difficult trial and difficult tribulation, what's the outcome? Those people will be dealt with in Jahannam. They will have their punishment, and Allah Ta'ala will reward you for your patience and for your bearing this difficulty. Allah Ta'ala will grant you لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير. And that is the huge, enormous success. إن بطش ربك لشديد. بطش ربك, the kaf damir referring to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that your Lord's seizing, His ability to seize, is very, very powerful, is very mighty. Now, of course, like the Quran, it's directed to multiple different groups of people. Sometimes Allah Ta'ala, like how He's doing here, He'll talk directly to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He'll talk to the believers. He'll talk to he'll direct his statements to the kuffar, even to the worst of the kuffar, like we've seen previously in some surah. That Surah Inshiqaq, I believe, is maybe one example. Quite a bit, but Allah Ta'ala will, he'll talk to these people. He'll bring, like, for example, in the audience of, like, for example, these huge skeptics they just don't believe in Ba'ath and being resurrected. Allah Ta'ala gives them their proofs and whatnot. So Allah Ta'ala, he'll direct certain ayat towards certain groups of people. So over here we see that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam is specifically being mentioned, but to the kuffar, to the Quraysh who are hearing this verse, they too also take in the meaning that Allah Ta'ala is consoling Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, saying that we will seize these people who are harming you. And so now when the kafir mushrik of the Quraysh, when he hears this, he also realizes that Allah Ta'ala could seize me just like how he seized the people from before. إِنَّهُ هُوَ يُبَدِئُ وَيُعِيدُ. And this is, inshallah, we'll talk about more in our Surah al-Tariq today. وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد. That Allah Ta'ala is the one who forgives and the one who intensely loves. He's the one who possesses the arsh. He is majestic in his nature and he does whatever he wills. And then we discussed, I alluded to the problem of evil that is prevalent in our times, that فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ, Allah Ta'ala could do whatever he wants, that it's not fair for someone if I own something and I decide to, like I have a shirt, I decide to rip off the sleeves, or I decide to, you know, uh, you have a white shirt that I decide to tie dye. No one has a right to say that, hey, don't do that. Like, why are you doing that? What are you doing? Like, you shouldn't be doing that. Or no one even has a right to like physically stop me, correct? So now if Allah Ta'ala says, الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, that Allah Ta'ala owns the heavens and the earth and of course everything that's between them as well. He can do whatever he wants. فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. And the other ayah I quoted was, لَا يُسْأَلُ عَمَّا يَفْعَلُ وَهُمْ يُسْأَلُونَ. That people, they question the existence of God or some of his attributes because he allows certain things to happen in the world. That how could there be a God if there's these certain calamities going on everywhere, or there's these, for example, like kids dying or kids having cancer, these things. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. Like that, those, even if those things are tragic and they're very depressing and whatnot, those, first of all, they don't disprove the existence of God in any way. But and at the same time, like Allah Ta'ala could do whatever He wants with His properties. And it's not something that we should be questioning him about. Sheikh Sabuni then brings a nice quotation, little hikayah from Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, where he says, "روي أن أبا بكر الصديق رضي الله تعالى عنه قيل له وهو في مرض الموت هل نظر إليك الطبيب؟ قال نعم. قالوا فماذا قال لك؟ قال لي إني فعال لما أريد." And when Abu Bakr as-Siddiq رضي الله تعالى عنه, when he was on his deathbed, someone asked him, like, did a doctor come check you out, examine you? And he replied that yes, the doctor did check. So then they asked, well, what did he say? Well, what's the problem? Is there any cure? And then he said that what the doctor has said to me was, inni fa'alu lima urid, I do whatever I wish with my property. هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود. Again, so now just like how Allah Ta'ala says He dealt with these ashab al-ukhdud and they're going to be in the fire of Jahannam, Allah Ta'ala then He brings another example of هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود, that did the event, has the event reached you? Did you hear about the news of the different armies? Which armies? The armies of Fir'aun and Thamud, who were, of course, had a greater military power, who were, of course, more had a lot more political power, who were physically more capable, stronger, taller, everything you could think of. What happened to them? Allah Ta'ala destroyed them as well. So now you guys are oppressing the Muslims of the believers of this age. So just like what happened to them, it could happen to you too, and you're not even at their level physically. بل الذين كفروا في التكذيب والله من ورائهم محيط. That rather it's the disbelievers, they're just in a state of belying and throwing lies against the deen and towards Allah Ta'ala, the Quran, and to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. والله من ورائهم محيط. Wara, as we said, is from the أفعال الأضداد, that it is, this came up once before and I forgot to look up, which came up in a previous surah. I forgot what the word was and I forgot to look at it again. That it refers to both opposites. So it could refer to the front and it could refer to the back. Over here, both. Allah Ta'ala is His knowledge and His power encompasses them from all over. بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ. Rather, this is the magnificent Quran and it is in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, the protected, preserved tablet. So now what does this have to do? It's showing that although the Muslims may be persecuted, they may be on the defensive end, there may be some huge military power that just keeps beating down on them, that's just bullying them, does this X, Y, and Z to them. They're always going to be, the Muslims, we are always going to be in a position of power. Why? Because we are on the truth. Why? Because although we might be beaten up physically, our message, our da'wah is that of is from Allah Ta'ala. Our message and our strength comes from the fact that no one's going to be able to, although you can mess with us, no one's going to be able to mess with Allah Ta'ala. No one's going to be able to mess with this da'wah that we have, which is the Quran. And inshallah, we'll talk more about that in Surah Tariq today as well. So, Surah Tariq. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Any questions regarding Surah Buruj? So, Surah Tariq. So the connection between, okay, so والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق النجم الثاقب إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ. Allah Ta'ala takes an oath by the sky and this star, which is called the Tariq, and which we'll talk a little bit more about more details about what exactly is this Tariq. النجم الثاقب, this piercing star. إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ. Every single individual, every single person has a hafiz, a protector over them. Just turn my notifications off because this is getting annoying. Sorry. Okay, so what was I going to say? Okay, so the connection between the beginning of Surah Tariq and the end of Surah Buruj, Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ. Allah Ta'ala talks about how this the Quran, which is in the Lawh Mahfuz, which is above everything, above the seven heavens, above everything. Then Allah Ta'ala continues to talk about was-sama'i wat-tariq. He brings the level down. Now he's going to talk about something that we could physically see from our vantage point, which is on earth. Additionally, we have wallahu min wara'ihim muhit. Allah Ta'ala is His power and His knowledge. It encompasses every single individual. And Allah Ta'ala also says, in kullu nafsin lamma alayha hafiz, that every single individual has these protectors, these angels over them. We'll talk more about what exactly alayha hafiz means as well. So those are two different connections. Breakdown of the surah, mentioned by Sheikh Sabuni in the beginning of each surah. He gives the bayna yad surah. So he says, هذه السورة الكريمة من السور المكية وهي تعالج بعض الأمور المتعلقة بالعقيدة الإسلامية. So this is a Makki surah, which of course Makki surahs always talk about Aqidah issues, Iman stuff. So محور السورة يدور حول الإيمان بالبعث والنشور, and the axis like the main point is we're going to discuss having firm belief in resurrection. وقد أقامت البراهين الساطع والدليل القاطع على قدرة الله عز وجل على إمكان البعث. And we're going to also discuss some more proofs on Allah Ta'ala's ability to resurrect individuals after they die. فإن الذي خلق الإنسان من العدم قادر على إعادته بعد موته, because Allah Ta'ala created insan from nothingness. He literally brought it from nothing into something. Then it's very easy for him to just change the form from death to life, because that's going from something to something, which is a lot easier than bringing in existence from out of non-existence. ابتدأ سورة الكريمة بالقسم بالسماء ذات الكواكب الساطعة التي تطلع ليلا لتضيء للناس سبلهم. So the surah, it starts with this qasam on the sama, on the sky, and these bright stars which show up in the night, and they shine their light down for the people to and they make use of that light, so that they can see during the nighttime. ويهتدوا بها في ظلمات البر والبحر, so that they can see in the darkness of the night and the day. على أن كل إنسان قد وكل به من يحرسه, and every single human being has a angel which is deputized for him, and which we discuss in كل نفس لما عليها حافظ. So there's a few interpretations of this, inshallah, which we'll talk about. So let's just leave that. ثم ساقط الأدلة, and then we'll talk more about the proofs of the qudra of Allah Ta'ala. فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق, in those couple of ayat, and then the surah ends with the magnificence of the Quran. So just like Surah Buruj, but هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ, we're going to talk more about the magnificent nature of the Quran. إنه لقول فصل وما هو بالهزل. So okay, was-sama'i wat-tariq. Anyone want to translate first 4 ayahs? 1 to 4? Should I go for it? Alright, I'll go for it. Was-sama'i wat-tariq. Let's get this set up real quick. Okay, so Allah Ta'ala is taking a qasam here. And as we said, there's a couple of different purposes for an oath. 4 of them being to show anger. When you want to show that you're very upset, you start taking an oath, or you swear by something. or the other is to magnify the thing that you're taking an oath on. The third could be that when you're not being believed, that of course like you show up to school or work late, and then the boss looks at you funny. He's like, "Why are you late?" And you tell him, "Oh, there was traffic." Nah, I swear, man, there was traffic. You start swearing by certain things to show when you're not being believed. And number four is to make. So this is something that gets lost in translation. This is something that is being used here when Allah Ta'ala takes a qasam. It is to make that thing which Allah Ta'ala is taking qasam on as a witness. It's making that thing itself a witness. So, like when you say, "I swear by this person," yani this person can testify that what you are saying is the truth. So these things too will be testifying for or against human beings on the Day of Judgment. So Tariq. What does Sheikh Sabuni say? So Tariq. Okay, what's that? So that's a sama. Oh, actually, now when we translate sama, we usually translate it as sky, and it could be sky, but another word that we know for sky is also when we say samawat. رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما. And sama, so the difference is samawat refers to those different, as we know, like the seven heavens and those things. But sama is actually even broader than that, which it refers to anything above, which would include even what's something that's above the seven heavens. Maybe you guys know this narration. Allah Ta'ala's arsh is where? It's the roof of the seven heavens, right? So technically it's above the seven heavens. So the sama would actually include this as well. So Allah Ta'ala is taking an oath by was sama'i, and then he takes a second oath, what tariq. So tariq is الطارق مأخوذ من الطرق بمعنى الضرب بشدة. So tariq, the root letters are ta, ra, qaf, and it comes in the meaning of darb, to hit, to stomp, to trample, with a lot of force, like excessive hitting, excessive trampling. So when we say tariq, the path, right, the road. So that's because there's, you can clearly tell when something is a path, right, because it's different than the ground around it. It's a lot more flat. It's you can tell that this is where people walk through and stuff like that. وكل ما جاء بليل يسمى طارقا. And anything that comes at nighttime, anyone that comes during the night is called a tariq. So even if a person comes, so what's the connection between the two? Like, what does tariq have to do with someone coming at night? Imagine you're just at home and someone knocks at the door. It's like, and it's at midnight. Someone knocks at the door at midnight. That knocking on the door is going to be a lot louder, right? Because you're going to be like, well, who is coming to my house in the middle of the night? Like, why? What is going on? So that knock, you get a little bit more cautious. You're a lot more attentive. So that's what the relationship between this mujib al-layl is with darb. Okay, was-sama'i wa-tariq. So tariq. Okay, one more thing. أقسم بالسماء والكواكب النيرة التي تظهر ليلا وتختفي نهارا. قال المفسرون سمي النجم طارقا لأنه إنما يظهر بالليل ويختفي بالنهار وكل ما يجيء ليلا فهو طارق. Okay, yeah. So okay. So what is this tariq? It's of course a star. I don't think I mentioned that, but I'm pretty sure you guys got that. The tariq that's being referred to here is a star, which we'll talk more about in the next coming ayahs, and it's the star is that thing which comes at nighttime and it shines its light and its light pierces so that people could see and all those things. And anything that comes at night, as we says, is called a tariq. Okay, so now the Arabs would travel by night because it's hot during the day. So they, of course, noticed, when you're in the middle of the desert, there's no light pollution or anything. Everything's black except for when you look up at the sky, you just see all these magnificent stars. And someone who comes in the middle of the night, and then knocks on the. Okay, we already said that. So of course, this is referring to the stars. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقِ. And what will make you realize what is the tariq? What will make you realize what is this night comer? So adaraka, Allah Ta'ala himself is going to answer in the next ayah. And this also shows that وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ, you have no ability to know. As I'm pretty sure we mentioned this previously wherever this has come in the previous surahs, that استفهام لتفخيم وتعظيم أو وما الذي أعلمك أعلمك يا محمد ما حقيقة هذا النجم. So this is to show the importance of what Allah Ta'ala is taking an oath on. And what tools do you have to possibly know the reality of this najm, of this star? ثم فسره بقوله النجم الثاقب. Then Allah Ta'ala describes it with a bit more detail and He says, it is the piercing star, its brightness which pierces throughout and it lands on the earth for us to see and for us to utilize its light during the nighttime. نجم المضيء الذي يثقب الظلام بضيائه. قال الصاوي قد كثر منه تعالى في كتابه المجيد ذكر الشمس والقمر والنجوم. The Sawi says that Allah Ta'ala oftentimes talks about the cosmos, the sun and the moon and the stars. لأن أحوالها في أشكالها وسيرها ومطالعها ومغاربها عجيبة دالة على انفراد خالقه بالكمالات لأن الصنعة تدل على الصانع. That the design argument, he's saying that when you ponder over the nature and the creation of the heavens, of the stars and the skies, the stars, the moon, the sun, all these different things, and you just see how amazing the design is, and you see how its form is, how it's moving, and all the different aspects of this. The دالة على انفراد خالقه بالكمالات. This is a clear proof that it shows the oneness of its creator due to the amazing nature of this thing's creation. And of course, the created thing will always necessitate that there be a creator for it. You guys have gone over the design argument with, I'm assuming, in Divine Reality class and stuff like that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, Divine Reality is a great book. I would highly recommend rereading it if you guys feel like you just didn't do it so well the first time. But actually, some of the arguments are quite difficult to grasp. Like I remember the whole infinity thing, understanding infinite regress. Don't even ask me how many times I had to like just sit there try to understand it. Yeah, I remember the line, like when we first heard that concept of infinite regress and that whole argument. Like I'll just think about it today. Like the questions we were asking were just so dumb because we didn't understand like anything that was going on. We were just talking about like so gosh, like I can't believe we asked those type of questions. In kullu nafsin lamma alayha hafiz. So this is the jawab al-qasam. Like we said, if you swear by something, for what reason are you doing that swearing? For what reason are you taking that oath? Is to you're trying to prove something. You're trying to you're going from X to Z. So now what's the Z? What's the jawab al-qasam? Allah Ta'ala is swearing by the sky and the Tariq. Why? In kullu nafsin lamma alayha hafiz. That every single individual has a hafiz over them, has a preserver over them. So now let's break this down pretty much word for word, because it's. Oh, actually, we didn't even. 1 second. I got caught up in reading the Sabuni. So Saqib comes from. It's on the scale of Nasara Yansuru. It means to pierce. So the black night with its piercing stars due to their light. Now, again, this also plays into the whole witness thing, where we said that when Allah Ta'ala takes an oath, that he's taking a witness by that, he's making that thing a witness for pretty much for humanity, for the a'mal. So now when you have this piercing light, for example, I don't know, you guys have Sunday mornings, you're just trying to sleep in or whatnot, and you have the blanket over you, but if the window, like sometimes my shades aren't covering my window completely, so I can still tell like that sun is hitting me right in my face, and I have to get up and I have to go through all this work of just trying to move the curtain like 3 inches that way. But what happens? Allah Ta'ala, so the sun, the light pierces from that star, and it pierces even through my blanket that I have covering my head, and I can tell it's daytime. I can tell that the sun is up, meaning that pretty much in that when I'm by myself and I'm completely secluded, this thing is still a witness over me. That this star is still witnessing all of the a'mal that I do. So, and we'll see how that ties more into the theme of this surah. So some of the themes here are, Allah Ta'ala talks about the journey, that he talks about two things, a journey and secrets. So the first is the journey, which, as we just said, there's like an entire journey that this light takes to come to shine on the earth. Some of these stars are just like so many light years away, yet they still go through this entire process of shining from how far they are, and they land upon the earth's surface so that we can see them. And additionally, there's also the theme of secrets, which we'll see actually quite a bit of throughout the rest of the surah, where, for example, Tariq is, like we said, the night comer, someone that's coming secretly. In kullu nafsin lamma alayha hafiz. Nafs is it refers to like the inner person, like the individual's person, the individual, his like personality, like the inner of an individual. Mimma, we'll talk about the construction of that, like nahu wise. Khuliq is majhul, the fa'il is not even being mentioned. So there's a lot of like secrecy that's being alluded to here in the surah. So in kullu nafsin lamma alayha hafiz. Let's talk more about that. What are these hafideen? As I'm sure you guys could guess, this is referring to the angels. What does Allah Ta'ala say? He says, Inna alaykum lahafidina kiraman katibin. That there's these angels who write down the deeds of the individuals. Oh, connection of Qasam and Jawab al-Qasam we discussed. The stars which Allah has made a witness over you. Is it really far-fetched to say that there's going to be angels watching you as well and your every move? Okay, so now laha and alayha. So are you guys familiar with the term sila for different af'al? Sila, for example, this concept of this would be a good exercise actually. So if you guys have Hansware, you should grab it right now. That when there's a fi'l, when it's used with a certain a sila is like a harf, like when it's used with la, or lahum, or lahu, or if it's used with alayhi, if it's used with like min, if it's used with an, it will give either slightly or sometimes even like a huge different meaning to the verb, depending on what sila is used with the verb. So for example, if we could go to the verb dal ayn waw, da'a yad'u, to make dua. Actually, I don't even have that written down here. It's just what's it called? I remember I wrote this down quite a while back. I just never got around to actually going through it with you guys. Are you on it, Arsalan? You could be our okay. Da'a. Okay, so now da'a. What's the first two, three meanings it gives for the translation? Yeah, so this is the verb that we use to like make when we make dua after salah. We raise our hands up to Allah Taala and then we make dua to Him. So now you see how there's all those different parentheses, and then it says like la. Let me pull it up myself. 1 second. I'll use my phone. Okay, yeah. So da'a yad'u, that you shows that it's going to be a dhamma. Da'a yad'u, from dua, to call, to summon, call to or send for, to call up. And then it has all those well, different huruf, like the lam or the ila and all those different things. Let me see. Okay, so now, okay, so if you go down like a few lines, you see where it says Allah, God equals to pray to. Yeah. Okay, so after that, then it says to wish lam someone. Correct? Yeah. SO. So SO stands for someone, and then ST, I believe, is something. Okay. So now, when you say da'a or da'autu li arsalan, what would that mean? To wish for me? Yani, I'm making dua in your favor. I'm making dua for good things for you. And then if you were to say da'autu, you go down a little bit. Let me find it. If you go down a little bit, it says ala someone, correct? Yeah. If I say da'autu ala fulan, I'm not going to say arsalat because the meeting. So what would that mean? Da'autu ala? To give dua. Exactly. So when you say da'autu lahu, I made dua for that person. I made good dua for that person. Where if you say da'autu alayhi, I made bad dua for that person. I invoked curses for that person. And if you were to say da'autu ila, to demand or require? No, where are you looking at? Hold on, let me. Where's it at? 1 sec. Okay, it should be somewhere here, but we'll probably scroll up and down and you can find something. But da'autu ila, like we would say da'autu ila Allah. Calling to Allah Ta'ala. Like that's the individual that you're making dua towards. Understand? So then the different usages of the sila will give different meanings to the verb. It's very clear in the lahu and alayhi. Lahu would mean you're making good dua for that guy. Alayhi would mean you're making bad dua for that guy. Another ridiculous, like even like more difficult is ayn ra dad ard arada. You say arada ila means one thing. You say arada lahu means one thing. You say arada bi, all these different meanings. And then on top of that, you get to like the mazid fi, and you're talking about like one fi'l having like 20 different. Mhm. No, no, yeah, that would be something that I'm sure probably a teacher mentioned it. I think I remember like I think one of our teachers mentioned it in like fourth year, but I mean we were kind of already aware of it because like yeah, but you notice that when it's used with a different sila, there's going to be different meanings and stuff like that, and then you can just kind of figure that out once you get more familiar with Hansware as well. It actually comes up right over in this in Sabuni in the Safat al-Tafasir. He says هذا جواب القسم أي ما كل نفس إلا عليها حافظ من الملائكة. He says that إن كل نفس لما for this ayah إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ, that this is the جواب القسم, and it's the meaning is that there is not an individual except that he has a angel over him. يحفظ عمله, that he protects the deeds that he is doing. ويحصي عليها. So now I was like, what is yuhsi? Okay, I know what that means, but what does yuhsi alayha mean? What does that mean? And then if you look it up, when when yuhsi is with the sila of ala, it means to charge or to hold someone, to hold against it. So yuhsi alayha ma taksibu min khairin wa sharrin, that these angels, they're holding against the individual what good or evil he does. So that was just a little exercise of that. And then on top, man, in usul and even in nahu, you'll see like how ba itself could have like multiple different meanings. Ala has a lot of different meanings and stuff like that. So you'll just have it like it's a game of just like trying to match up things and to see what makes the most sense. Okay, where were we at? Okay, so now what was that whole exercise for? Alayha hafiz. Oh, okay, another example. وَالْقُرْآنُ حُجَّةٌ لَكَ أَوْ عَلَيْكَ. Right? It gives two. So the Quran is a proof for you. حُجَّةٌ لَكَ, حُجَّةٌ عَلَيْكَ, or it could be a proof against you. So now, عَلَيْكَ here would also, لما عليها حافظ is talking about these angels, كِرَامًا كَاتِبِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ, who are writing down the deeds and they're preserving the deeds that a person did, so that it's not like it could be for us, it could also be ammo against us. عليها حافظ. In this is a very interesting like nahu stuff going on over here. Normally we would say ما كل نفس ليس كل نفس إلا عليها حافظ. We would say ما كل نفس إلا عليها حافظ, but in is being used here, which is in nafia, and this lamma is in the meaning of illa, it's the istithna, harf istithna. Okay, so ما كل نفس إلا عليها حافظ, that there is not an individual except that he has a angel that's writing down his deeds. What else? Again, fits with the secrecy because this nahu concept of in and lamma being used as nafia and as illa, this concept is obscure and different. So is the word usage. That this concept of the angels being like present over you and watching every move, because that's something that's so unbelievable to you all. We're also in something that's so different and something so obscure. There's a different and obscure nahu and word usage being brought here for this ayah. Kul, kullu nafsin refers to each and every single individual by themselves. Whereas if you say jami'un nas, jami' also refers to everyone, right? But jami' means like when they're grouped together. So it's not that in the jami' that jami' would be like if you would say if jami' was used here, it would be that there's like one angel per group. Whereas with this, if you by using the word kul, it says that there's angels per individual, as opposed to it's not like they're sharing, people to watch over. Okay. Each insan versus nafs. I just think I said that nafs is something that's insan is like the person, their body, and everything. Nafs is like the inner, like the state, like their inner and balcony states and stuff. Okay, ayah number 5. فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ. So فَلْيَنْظُر. Fa, then. Fa is for the ta'qib, that once a person has realized this after reflecting over the cosmos of these stars that are completely watching over you, they are a witness over you, it's not far-fetched to say that there's also angels watching over you. Like that's not so hard to believe either. فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ. Okay, fine. If you don't even understand all of these obscure concepts, you're not able to look up at the stars and the skies and the cosmos and understand what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, how about you look inside yourself now? فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ. So man should look, an individual should reflect and ponder deeply. Invar is where you seriously take a good look at something. It's not just, you give it like a moment's notice or a moment's look, but you're giving it some serious contemplation. وَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ. مِمَّا خُلِقَ, we would translate it as? Yeah, what is mimma? Are shabash. I didn't think, good job. Okay, fine. How about this? Where else does this come? Where else have we done this? Yes. Yeah, mhm. So what were you about to say about Surah Naba? Yeah, yeah. So what happened over there? No, no. Do you remember what we said over there? Okay, so Amma yatasa'alun was originally, yeah. So then whenever ma has the harf before it, the alif will drop off. That's the same thing that's happening here. So, min ma khuliq, from ma what khuliq, it was created. So man should take a good hard look as from what he was created from. Again, tying into the secrecy of the surah, we have the mimma khuliq, like you said. The alif is dropped off to show that. Okay, I mean, so the answer is, of course, that he was created from khuliqa min ma'in dafiq. He was created from sperm. So now, mimma khuliq, the alif is dropped off to show that it's like a tasghir, a sort of deficiency, even in that thing that he was created. There's this alif that's normally there, like you said, it's been dropped off as well to show the deficiency of the beginnings of man. Khuliq. Khuliq is fi'l majhul. Again, the secrecy of the fa'il being hidden. Allah Ta'ala is even like distancing himself from this sort of dirty and fluid that's being referred to here. It could also refer to the anger of Allah Ta'ala. That when Allah Ta'ala sometimes like he'll mention, for example, Surah Al-Fatiha, I'm sure you guys discussed this as well. So Surat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim. That when we're asking, when we're speaking to Allah Ta'ala in the Surah Al-Fatiha, we're saying that it's the path of those whom you have favored. You, O Allah, have favored. Anta, and amta, that ta is referring to Allah Ta'ala. You have an'amta alayhim, غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِينَ. But you notice that it doesn't say that غَيْرِ الَّذِينَ غَضِبْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ. Not those people who you are mad or upset with, mad with. But so then Allah Ta'ala is distancing himself from the fi'l of even the ghadab upon those people that are being referred, the Jews that are being referred to in the ayah. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, and I mentioned that. Okay, if you can't even understand these like abstract concepts in the sky and all that stuff, then at least just take a look at your own selves and maybe you can get somewhere. خُلِقَ مِن مَاءٍ دَافِقٍ. That you were created from a dafiq. It means masboob بقوة وشدة. That's something that gushes out with a lot of force. يقال دفق الماء دفقا إذا انصب بدفع وشدة. Something that just, like, for example, if a dam was to break and all that water just starts with so much force just starts coming out, that's the water. That's how the semen, the sperm is being described. That insan, a human being, was created from this fluid that gushes out. يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب. Sulb, the backbone, the loins. Tara'ib, referring to the breasts of a woman. So sulb, talking about it. يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب. That it comes from man and woman. That to procreate requires both men and women for that process. Okay, let me see if there's anything I skipped. Dafiq, gush. So just like thaqib, Allah Ta'ala is drawing our attention to like this piercing nature of these things, how there's the correlation, and it's like there's a consistent imagery that Allah Ta'ala is showing here, referring to man and woman. Okay. So سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم. I think just like I had mentioned that, you can't understand if it's just too difficult to ponder over the skies and the stars and all these different things. Then just recognize your low nature and the authoritative nature and this high nature of Allah Ta'ala. إنه على رجعه لقادر. إنه على رجعه لقادر. How do we translate this? Just you can guess if you want. To return, to bring something back. Huh? قادر, he has the ability. إنه قادر على رجعه, right? Yeah, who is capable? Okay, but again, remember that whole thing we talked about, the damir has to have a marja'. Has Allah Ta'ala even been mentioned anywhere here? Remember خُلِق, the فَلْيَنْظُرْ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ. Allah Ta'ala didn't even mention his name because he's distancing himself from the whole process. So again, yeah, you're right. It's referring to Allah Ta'ala. Inna Allah qadirun ala raj' al-insan. Again, tying into that whole theme of secrecy, and which we'll see in the next ayah as well. That Allah Ta'ala, he hasn't even mentioned his name yet, but of course you recognize immediately that Allah Ta'ala is the one who is capable, qadirun, he is most surely capable on returning it. So, referring to the birth, that, money, semen goes inside the woman, and then what does Allah Ta'ala give back? From this dirty, from this dead, something that's inanimate, this fluid, this small fluid, Allah Ta'ala returns it back into something bigger. He turns it into something pure. He turns something into living, even. So showing that, just like how Allah Ta'ala shows that He can turn things from any form to something else. So this is the ishkal that the mushrikun have, that how is Allah Ta'ala, after we've turned into bones and we've decayed completely, how is Allah Ta'ala going to turn us back into living, breathing human beings again? Well, He already did it once. It happened when the way you were born, you'll be born again. Inna shows izalatu shak. It shows, it's like to refute a skeptic. Innahu ala raj'ihi laqadir. So I mean, anyway, you ask anyone like about the nature of a birth, they'll say that it's something miraculous, right? So, there's a birth in the family, it's something that's miraculous, something that, that the fact that there's a fluid could go inside a woman and it could turn into a living being, that's something that's absolutely miraculous. People just don't take that next step of attributing that miraculous nature to Allah Ta'ala. No, damir fits with secrecy. Okay, again, it's similar to in the previous surah, innahu huwa yubadi'u wa yu'id. It is Allah Ta'ala who originates things and He brings them back. يَوْمَ تُبْلَى السَّرَائِرِ. On the day in which the sara'ir, the secrets, will be examined. Yes, you have a question? Could you repeat that last thing you mentioned at the last time? Were you referring to the second lamir, the raj'ihi? No. So innahu is referring to inna Allah qadirun ala raj'ihi. When it says raj'ihi, is it saying their return to Allah, or is it saying their return? No, inna Allah ta'ala alladhi khalaqa al-insana ibtida'an qadirun ala i'adatihi ba'da mawtihi. Well, sorry, what did you ask? Like, but the ha in raj'ihi, is the ha the damir there, is it referring to Allah or referring to... No. It's talking about it could be the birth, the process of the birth that's being described here, as well as like how that's paired up with the fact that just like how you turn this sperm and this into a living baby, and He could turn one thing into something else, He too can turn you from being dead in the ground, being decayed, and He could turn you back into the resurrection, pretty much. Inna Allah qadirun ala raj'i al-insan. Okay. The damir in the raj'i is referring to insan. Okay. No. يوم تبلى السرائر. On the day that these secrets are exposed, examined. يوم تمتحن القلوب وتختبر. On the day that the hearts will be tested and examined. ويعرف ما بها من العقائد والنيات. And it'll be known what beliefs they held and what intentions they performed their action with. ويميز بين ما طاب منها وما خبث. And it will be known and it'll be sifted through like which actions were pure and which actions were not pure. It's actually a very interesting incident of Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, who was the. You guys know who Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi is? This is um, Maulana Rashid, man. Bani Darul Uloom Deoband. Yeah. Qasim Nanotwi, Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi. The two. If you had to pick one person, if you say who created Deoband, you say Maulana Qasim. If you had to pick two, you say Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi. What happened is an incident. Was one time he was reading Surat al-Tariq in his Tahajjud Salah. He got to this ayah, just kept repeating it for the entire night. For the entire night, he just kept repeating this ayah. And he was just crying the whole time. So Sara'ir comes the Wahid being Sarira, which is a very well guarded secret. So on the day that all these very well guarded secrets are exposed, فَمَا لَهُ مِنْ قُوَّةٍ وَلَا نَاصِرٍ. That individual, فَمَا لَهُ, there is not for him min quwwah. He doesn't have the ability to try to hide it. He won't have the ability to try to cover it back up and try to bring it back and so that no one finds out. وَلَا نَاصِرٍ. And no, he's not going to have anyone to be able to help him. Just like how if something was to happen to us, what did he say? قال في التسهيل لما كان دفع المكاره في الدنيا إما بقوة الإنسان. If something bad, if something like this happened, there was let's say even your body becomes exposed. You yourself have the quwwah to cover yourself back up. If let's say you don't, let's say you're like paralyzed or something, you're in a hospital bed, you would ask someone to help you. So those are the only two ways that your body will become covered back up again. So similarly, on the Day of Judgment, or not similarly, but you yourself are not going to have the ability to cover up your sins and all these different things that you did. Similarly, no one is going to be able to help you. Allah Ta'ala, as we discussed previously, يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا والأمر يومئذ لله. حتى أنه سورة الفطار. That everything on that day is just going to be, every single matter just going to be in the belonging to Allah Ta'ala. والسماء, okay, we have 8 minutes. والسماء ذات الرجع. And Allah Ta'ala, he then goes back and he takes another oath and he says, he swears by the sky which possesses al-raja. Ayah number 11. 10 to 12. I was supposed to read Sabuni. Allah Ta'ala takes an oath by the sky which possesses al-raja. Al-raja is referring to the rain, because why? Raja'a, as we said, to come back, exactly, return to the rain, the water cycle, as we know how it works. It goes in the earth, it comes back up, evaporates clouds, all that stuff, and it comes back. أقسم بالسماء ذات المطر الذي يرجع على عباده حينا بعد حين. That just continuously, this rain that starts to pour over and over and over again. قال ابن عباس الرجع المطر ولولاه لهلك الناس وهلكت مواشيهم. That, and if it wasn't for the rain, Ibn Abbas says that this raja is referring to the rain, and if it wasn't for the rain, then human beings and animals would have perished. والأرض ذات الصدع. Yes. I'm not sure. Yeah. See when the modern water cycle idea came into. Yeah. You feel like people would just have picked this up living their life, even if they never picked up a science book? You feel like this is something that people might have just understood? Some people thought the earth was flat, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure they've seen like their. Okay, whatever. You could, yeah, search it up. See what you find. Inshallah, we got 5 minutes, man. Okay, what are they? That is sada, and the earth which possesses a sada. A sada is what he says. الصدأ النبات الذي تنشق عنه الأرض. It's the صدأ refers to cracking, the when something breaks. So meaning like when the ground breaks and the vegetation comes out the ground. So again, referring to the whole water cycle and how the water, when it goes into the ground, it allows vegetation to grow. إنه لقول فصل. So now again, the whole idea of resurrection being talked about again. Allah Ta'ala talks about how the rain falls and Allah Ta'ala brings life to the earth. Similarly, you too will be brought back to life again. Just like how you see season after season, year after year. Every time the earth goes around the sun, the same thing happens. Rain falls, and even though the crops died during the winter time, they're going to come back in the next season and they're going to grow again. You're going to have your food again, all that stuff. So referring again to this is a dalil that Allah Ta'ala will resurrect man on the day of judgment. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلٌ فَصْلٌ. What is this referring to? إِنَّهُ. Yes, the Quran. It's a decisive speech. It's a decisive code. What number is that? Number 13. Indeed, this Quran is most surely a distinguishing word from God. Subhanallah. Beautiful translation. That أقسم بالأرض التي تصدى وتنشق فيخرج منها النبات والأشجار والأزهار. قال ابن عباس. Okay, we discussed that. إنه لقول فاصل. إن هذا القرآن لقول فاصل بين الحق والباطل. This Quran is a decisive قول between the truth and falsehood. وقد بلغ الغاية في بيانه وتشريعه وإعجازه, and it's reached the pinnacle of its content, in the way it explains things, and in its non or in its in how do you say that word? Where you can't copy it. Inimitability. Yeah, what he said. That one. Hopefully the people on the laptop heard it too. That where you can't copy it. Okay, yeah, Jazzy. Sorry. Okay, I think I'm getting a little bit too free right now. I'm talking. Okay, so the Quran it's amazing in all those different. So now what does it have to do? Okay, we're talking about the وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الرَّجْعِ وَالْأَرْضِ ذَاتِ الصَّدْعِ. We're talking about the water cycle, and then إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلٌ فَصْلٌ. We're talking about the Quran now. What are those things? What do those two things have to do with each other? So again, the Qasam and the Jawab al-Qasam, they have a connection, correct? So what's the connection between these two? The Quran came down from the sky, just like how the rain comes down from the sky. Now, even more than that, the rain, what does it do to the earth after it's died? It brings the earth back to life again. Similarly, the Quran too gives life to the dead hearts. Subhanallah. وَالْأَرْضِ ذَاتِ الصَّدْعِ إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلٌ فَصْلٌ. Now, what does Allah Ta'ala continue to describe it as? وَمَا هُوَ بِالْهَزْلِ. And it is not وَمَا هُوَ بِالْهَزْلِ. It's not a joke. It's not something it's not some entertainment talk. It's not something that we just, our Quran Tarjuma class, our reading the Quran, our listening to Quran should always be something that leads us towards reflection and action. It should never just, unfortunately, like a lot of, I see this, there's a lot of group chats and stuff that people are just sending, people Quran recitation videos of this guy, this Qari just busting. Yeah, it sounds amazing. It sounds nice. But although the Quran, it can be, and it'd be great. Yeah, we could use it as entertainment. We should not limit it to that though. Understand? Even khutbahs, people like listening to Mufti Azim. They just get a spiritual boost for 6 minutes, and then go back home and nothing's changed. Right? That's not how the Quran should be in our lives. It should be something that empowers us to do more good, and again, connected to the end of the last surah, that this Quran is something that gives the believer strength in his da'wah. إنهم يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا. That إنهم يكيدون كيدا. These kuffar, these disbelievers, are plotting. يكيدون كيدا. That many of them are plotting, and they all have their different plots. Keda, the maful mutlaq, shows that it's different plots. تحسبهم جميعا وقلوبهم شتى. Because not even the kuffar are on the same page, right? It's not like it's Muslims versus kuffar. It's like Muslims versus this kafir group, this guy, all that, right? So even they have all these separate different plots, and they are planning these plots secretly. Kaid, as refers to وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ Allah. We say they plot and Allah plots. Kaid is a secret plot, whereas makar is like a plot that has deception in it, right? Meaning, so it fits more with like we're saying, this whole surah is talking about the secrecy. So the kaid is a better use in the surah. It's a better word to use in the surah. So all these people plot. Innahum, indeed they are. They're putting so much. It also implies effort, that they're putting all this effort into all the different kaids, all the different plots. What does Allah Ta'ala say? Wa akidu kaida. He doesn't say wa innahum, wa inni akidu kaida. Why? He doesn't need to. Why? Does it require effort from Allah Ta'ala's part, from Allah Ta'ala to completely crush their plots? Of course not. He doesn't need to say wa inni akidu kaida. Additionally, how many plots does Allah Ta'ala have? He's saying wa inni wa akidu. I don't know what's the jama of this. I don't even know. But Allah Ta'ala is saying He also has His singular plot, correct? Meaning that insan, we as human beings, if we wanted to, go against these different kuffar groups, we would have to have one plan of attack, quote unquote. Hope we're not being, okay. uh, we would have to have one group, one plan of attack, quote unquote, against this group, another plan of attack against that group. What is Allah Ta'ala saying? No, He has one plan that's just going to end the whole debate, right? So showing again the strength of Allah Ta'ala. فَمَهِّلِ الْكَافِرِينَ أَمْهِلْهُمْ رُوَيْدًا. So grant them respite, give them some time. Don't be so harsh and take them to task. Amhilhum, give them some time. Ruwaida, just for a little bit. Ism tasghir, again, just for a little bit. Which is interesting because why? Who's being bullied? It's the Muslims. Who's being oppressed? It's the Muslims. Who's being boycotted? It's the Muslims. What is Allah Ta'ala saying? Who's usually the one that gives respite? It's the guy that's in the position of authority, right? What is Allah Ta'ala saying? That okay, yeah, so they're bullying you, so they're being they keep torturing you, they keep doing all these different things. But who's still in the position of power? You are. Why? Because you owe Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you ask me, if you made du'a against them, then it'd be over. It'd be over for them. If so, what does he say? لا تستعجل في هلاكهم والانتقام منهم ولا تدعو عليهم. So that's in some different tafsirs and stuff. But over here he's saying, don't start fighting back. Don't start seeking their ولا تستعجل في هلاكهم. Don't start making du'a for their destruction. Why? Because you're actually the one in the position of power, and if you make dua against them, it's going to be game over. So Allah Ta'ala is saying them, just فَمَهِّلِ الْكَافِرِينَ أَمْهِلْهُمْ رُوَيْدًا. Just grant them respite just for a little bit and for a little bit more time, and soon, ruwaydan. Of course, we know what happened in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Eventually, they went on hijrah, right? After a couple of years, they went on hijrah and they moved away from him, and they had their security and their peace. Or for us, it could possibly be either in this dunya, the kuffar who are going against the Muslims, they'll be taken care of, or definitely on the Day of Judgment, they'll be taken care of as well. Amhilhum ruwaida. So, sorry, 901. Sorry if I kept you guys from anything. Please forgive me. We ask that Allah Ta'ala allow us not to be in a pitiful state. يَوْمَ تُبْلَى السَّرَائِرُ. So, any questions? You guys can go if you want. If anyone has any questions, feel free to. Okay, for sure. Inshallah. I can just Google it, right? You guys can go if you need to go. Let me just Google this. When was the water cycle discovered? 1580 CE. That's 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 like the new way of saying BC, right? Yeah, 350. Yes. I know they stopped saying BC AD because of the whole, to move away from religion and stuff. Yeah, BC is before Christ, AD after death, right? Something like that. Yeah, that's why there's this. I thought that's what it was. Maybe I'm tripping. Anyway, but he says another thing says hence the water cycle, at least in Europe, was known by Aristotle's time, 350 BC. Oh, okay. Yeah, they didn't know. No, but even if you have a cup and a glass, and you see the condensation outside the cup and you see the water drop, I'm sure there was somebody that could have figured that out. Well, that's true. What's that? The last dialogue? Is that like a famous thing, or is that just what you found? Oh, nice. All right, all right, inshallah. All right. Any other questions or? Oh, you're talking to you. My fault. All right, inshallah. All right. Sound like it, man.